Though?
Is my bicep showing?
Bicep
is my bicep
and
showing?
And we're live. Welcome. Hello. Someone introduce.
Hey, fellow kid Twitchers. We're going to be talking Game of Thrones in just a minute here. This is the Was It Good podcast. This is the pre-show on YouTube and Twitch where we figure out what we're going to talk about exactly and shit.
Wait, so that's how this goes? We sit here now before the show and talk about what we're going to talk about.
Well, we're going to go through our outline here, which I wrote this amazing intro with tons of spelling mistakes.
You know, Ravi, it's
grammatical issues.
It's kind of funny. I feel like this is what you're always trying to get me to do at work, like just go live when we don't have a plan for anything.
Yeah. Correct, and you formulate the plan
while we're live.
Yeah.
Ravi likes the run and gun approach.
I know.
Just gun it.
You know, that's funny. That's what he says at work all the time. we're like the run and gun guys, and whenever I hear that, I'm like, no, it's mostly just gunning. But the gun,
yeah.
But the
no
gun,
running,
the gun shooting ourselves in the foot.
So you can no longer run. You're just limping.
Run and gun only works.
But at least
in video games.
At least in
a shooter.
At least in Nashville, Buffalo's Nashville, the ultimate sports bar. At least we got to smoke some cigs while we shot ourselves in the foot.
That's a good point, actually.
I like that.
So for our viewers out there, we have a special guest today.
Very special.
On the
Not really
podcast.
5 out of 10.
Matt Harmon. Twitter's very own Matt Harmon. You were born from it. You know, like how Daenerys was reborn from the fire?
What's the thing?
The dragons. You were like born from the
ashes?
Whatever, the birds of Twitter.
No, that's actually really true.
Yeah.
That's a really accurate way to put it because I look at my life in two segments, right? Like there's the time before I was, balls deep in football Twitter, and then
balls deep,
and then the time after that, and it's hard to say. Obviously, there's been less time spent in the after portion there.
Sure.
But it is hard to say which one is worse because being on Twitter is a generally miserable experience.
Yes. You handle it well.
Yeah, no. Well, that's just because I'm a broken person, so it's my medium, you know?
How many times a week do you just think about quitting Twitter and never going back?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day when
Wouldn't
I'm walking
it be,
down the street.
I was in what I would not call a relationship, but a thing recently.
A relationship.
Not a relationship, but a thing with a female somewhat recently. And she said to me at one point, she's like, yeah, I used to listen to all these politics podcasts, but I just can't do it anymore. Like, I can't pay attention to all the Trump shit and I can't just wade through the garbage of political media at this point anymore. I'm like, that must be nice because I'm on Twitter all day.
That's my job.
I might as well listen to the fucking podcast because I'm wading through the shit on Twitter all day. So what's the difference? This is a really sad way to start the show. Or the pre-show.
The pre-show.
It's the
pre-show.
Yeah.
Now they're getting to know you before the show.
Oh, great. So this is the first impression for your fan base.
Wow, he's a very sad individual.
No, but honestly, this is great. I'm really excited to be a part of yet another Bad Tacos media property. After doing the podcast.
The Empire Nation.
Empire Nation.
Yeah.
You're the first twofer guest.
Dude, he's crossed over
platform.
He's gone over universes.
It's
like a Trekkie and a Star Wars fan. He's like one.
He's like Will Wheaton.
He's Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton.
Yo, Ravi, your goddamn cat is like pawing at my back.
Good.
And also definitely getting cat hair on my Three Weavers.
Charlie's gonna hate you for sure when you go home.
Charlie got a rabies shot today, so he's had a busy day already, and he went for a hike yesterday.
Does that knock him out essentially?
The rabies shot?
Because it's a.
No, bro. It's just like a little.
I don't know how that shit works. I'm not a vet.
Don't you get your cat some?
For those joining us, we're about to start our podcast in a little bit. Obviously, once the podcast starts, still feel free to hit us with questions or whatever you want to say. We may look at it and chuckle, and you get the knowledge of knowing that you made us chuckle on camera when we're supposed to be professionals. So good for you.
Are we supposed to be professionals?
God, no.
Okay, good. Also, the cat is really tilting me right now.
What's he doing?
He's all the way in the hoodie.
He's just hanging out in the hoodie.
He's literally in the slot, between the back and the butt. And
I hit your garage door too. My bad.
Don't tell them our uber secret location.
Oh,
of our
sorry.
studio.
We are at 37. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you want to do a quick? I think we're good audio-wise. Right?
Yeah, I just need to do a check for everyone. So, Raph, we'll start with you.
I missed the Night King. This episode showed that human beings are pieces of garbage.
Dude, if he
and
brings up
I
the
hate,
fucking Night King.
I
Oh, he's
hate them
going
so much.
It's
I
a
hate
running
everything.
thing.
It's
wanna-
not a running thing. It's a truth. Your fucking view on Triple Frontier, that's a bit. My thing is the truth.
No, it's not a bit because other people believe me.
Those
no
people
one
are
believes
idiots.
you.
They're all, it's all a
actually-
bit.
you're
It's a
on a-
paid. It's
you're
a
on
paid
an
thing.
island by
it's a paid
yourself.
thing.
Can I-
Did you get
can
the
I-
audio that you needed?
You're good.
Can I
we'll
say?
have
Can
Christian
I say
turn.
something first?
When it gets done to your audio test.
I'm gonna say it now. I tried to finish Triple Frontier, the movie that I fell asleep in, that because of your recommendation.
Yeah. You
I
just don't get it, man.
well, I got like a minute and a half into it, and I was like, I don't want to do this. What's the
Listen,
point?
you're like them. You don't get it. It's a generational thing.
It does seem that way because
How is it a generational
because
thing?
there were a couple people I will not name who were over 30 that I talked to at work
Wes
who
and Curtis.
who were very much
Yeah,
fans
I'll name
Weston
them.
Curtis.
who were very much fans of Triple Frontier.
Yeah. If you're 30 and older, you like it, and if you're under 30, you don't. And that's just like that's what the demographic
Here,
is.
Christian, keep talking.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep talking because Triple Frontier, great action movie in the vein of a great '80s action movie, and they did it well.
Oh, so it's an 80s. That's why I don't get it, because I was not alive in the 80s.
Really? Wait, how old are you, Matt?
He's
how
like
old-
12.
How old do you think I am?
He's 12.
I would guess 20
something.
27 exactly.
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah, 27 is not the 80s.
I was like
1991.
I was
I will be 28 in August.
my reach was 29, and my early year was like 25.
Isn't
So
it
I was
funny,
like-
by the way, what you do with your age? Like, when you want to appear older, I'll always say I'll be 28 in August. But that's only in situations where I want
Can you
to
move your mic a little
emphasize
bit
that I'm
closer
not
to your
that
face?
young.
Like not like touching, but like right here, like that.
Oh yeah. Let's have people.
like angling up a little bit.
Yeah.
I got you. Noise.
Noise.
Keep talking, Christian.
Hello.
There
So
we go.
Matt
That's
Harmon,
better.
that is good to know. When I tell people my age, I actually go like 40, and then when they're like, "Wow, you don't look 40 at all," I'm like, "Thank you, I'm actually 30," and they're like, "Oh."
Oh
And
shit.
then like, "What happened to your head?" And I was like, "Well, early onset baldingness,
What
and
happened
I
to
blame
your-
that on my mom's dad. Apparently, I don't know if that's really actually fact.
Is it good?
I don't believe it.
This is good.
Because
I
he's
think
just
it's a
gonna keep
combination
going.
of.
I know.
Oh, we good?
Yep.
Oh, thank
Harmon,
God.
do you want to do a mic check?
Sure. What would you like to talk about while I'm doing the mic
What
check?
is your hottest take that you've ever had in your entire life?
My hottest take that I probably ever had in my entire life was, I don't really stand as hard for this take anymore, but for a long time, it was that peanut butter is trash and it's not good.
Whoa.
And that offended a lot of people.
Understandably.
Why have you backed off of it?
Because I started to really like almond butter, and it was like, I mean, I can't fucking say that like I don't like peanut butter, but I like almond butter because almond butter is just kind of the objectively worse version of peanut butter. Although I will say I just like it more. Also, I just, part of hashtag fit life is just accepting that you're not going to like the taste of everything you eat, and you eat it because of the nutrients and it's good for you. Like,
It's true.
quinoa is a perfect example. It's a food that no one seeks it out, right? Like, come on. What
Quinoa?
I like the texture of quinoa for some reason. Not necessarily the taste,
but the taste
texture
is
weird.
yeah, well, that's totally different. Taste and
Yeah.
texture is different, but the taste, yeah, who cares? Oh, God damn.
Sorry.
Just blasted the light right in my
come
face.
back
We
closer.
blinded our guest.
Is that light off?
Yes.
It's off, right?
His light is off.
Yeah. It's too bright on him. So
It's way too bright on me. I was
I was
gonna
turning because of
bring
the
that up.
overhead. So
'Cause it's
he's
white,
gonna
too.
get because he's white. So
All right,
Yeah.
it's time
Kale
for my
Kale
mic.
is also a perfect example too. Of a
Oh
food.
my
Kale
God!
is
Tell him
awful.
to stop doing audio tests, or there's gonna be hearing
I-
about health
hold on.
food for the rest of the
I
day.
love kale. I ate kale earlier.
You're good, Matt Harmon. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
Kill his
Appreciate
mic.
it.
Wait, you like
Okay.
kale?
Yes,
Oh,
not
alright,
raw.
just-
I think tomorrow for Bet the Realm, I'm gonna have John eat raw kale. Like I'm gonna bring a bowl in,
Did you win?
Do it.
and
That would
that's
be
gonna the
amazing,
punishment.
actually.
No,
That's gonna
don't
be the
do it.
punishment.
Don't
Yes,
do
do
it.
it. That
That's-
would be so
I'm-
good.
I'm
That would be a
doing it.
great punishment.
That is
Hello.
a terrible punishment.
All right, we're good on my end.
You're good. All right, cool.
We ready?
Tell me. You want me to
me
blast this
why.
out? I'm gonna blast it on Facebook and Twitter.
Cool.
Tell.
I
I'll
will
share it before.
retweet it.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Are you tweeting it?
Are you gonna tag me, or am I gonna have to find it?
You have to find it because I didn't tag you in it because I'm a jerk.
Then
like
I
that.
quit.
I mean, I'll retweet from mine and then tag you in that one if you want. But we'll do that after we start. Anyway, it's pumping out right now. So, Arjuna, you tell me when you're ready for me to do the intro. Or should we do all the tagging and stuff first?
Let's do the tagging and stuff first.
All right, everyone, tag the hell out of it. And everyone just stops talking.
I hate garages right now, opening and closing. Yeah.
I didn't like the episode.
You're lying. You know why you're lying? Because you found a couple of suitable replacements for the Night King. Your one.
Shut it. Do not bring up his name.
Frank?
Yeah, can we not bring up his name?
Okay. From here on out, I will try not to bring it up. But I guarantee you, it will come up. Because that's just how we do it. So, yes, anyone watching, please drop some comments below about what you thought of the episode. Who was your favorite character? Did you want more death? What do you think is going to happen next week? Who's going to end up on the throne?
Someone on Twitch, that shit sucked. Yeah, you're right. Potentially. We'll get to it. Arjuna, so for those joining and jumping in, we're about to do our weekly podcast for Was It Good, where we're reviewing movies, TV shows. Today, obviously, we're talking Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5. While we're doing the podcast, feel free to jump in the chat. You can leave comments. After we're done our podcast, we will get to your comments, your questions. We will jump in and hypothesize. Is that a word?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. I know English. We'll talk about everything you want to know. Obviously, next week is the last episode, so let's just nerd the hell out together and just be thankful it's finally coming to an end.
Ooh, I mean, that's one take.
Yeah, that's a great take, actually. It's
can go with
almost
it.
like I'm sick of it. Sick of everything.
I mean, we knew that. I think 2 episodes ago, we knew for sure that you were done.
I don't know. I haven't watched any of the episodes, so I don't know what Ravi's opinions are.
Oh, you do.
You love my opinions. Anyway,
I've seen them on his Instagram
ready?
story. And I
we're
just
ready.
swiped
Let's
through
do
it.
this. Here we go. I wrote the best intro ever. I might fuck it up.
Okay, here we go. In
I
5,
get really nervous.
4,
Really nervous.
3, 2.
Welcome to Was It Good? I'm your host, Ravi, joined by my 2 brothers, Krishna and Arjuna. We just finished Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5, and what a hot episode it was. We're talking through the amazing action sequences, how emotional it was, and we have a very special guest to give us their hot take on the episode. As always, spoiler galore, so don't listen if you haven't seen the episode. Let's start with the guest, Mr. Matthew Harmon.
You legally can't call me Matthew, by the way.
Are you being serious?
Well, only 3 types of people are allowed to call me Matthew. 1, my mother. You're not that. 2,
Thank God.
one of my 3 sisters. You're not that. Also,
Oh,
just
God.
sidebar, I'm really tilted because I can see your fucking cat pawing at my hoodie over there. Hey,
He loves it.
that's enough. And number 3,
Oh, he's like snuggled in it.
that's better.
curled up.
That's fine.
If you look at my camera, if you're watching this, you can see him behind.
And number 3, women I'm involved with, which you're definitely not that. So,
That's debatable.
well, it's hard to say. All right, but anyways, yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here despite that very passive-aggressive start. I'm excited to talk Game of Thrones.
Awesome. So typically we start on the show with our one-word unboxing, kind of giving a, if you were to sum up the episode in one word, what would it be? Krishna, you're the eldest out of all 3 of us.
I'm also the baldest.
Actually,
Wow.
out of all 4 of us. So with respect to you, what is your one-word unpacking impression of the episode?
I'm going to say my one-word impression of the episode is
Wow.
promising.
Promising.
I'm going to say promising.
Promising, okay.
And here's why. Because going into this episode, I wasn't very excited for this episode or the next one. This episode, for me, made me almost fall back in love with the Game of Thrones that I love and made me excited for next week, which is very important since it's the last episode of this iteration of Game of Thrones that we're ever going to get. So I'm going to say promising for that reason.
Promising. That's a bizarre one, but okay.
Really?
Promising.
More than Incrediballs, Amazeballs, the other words that I've made up before in the past.
I mean, I guess so. Arjuna, what's your one word?
My one word is going to be brutal.
Brutal?
Brutal, because it was a brutal episode with everything that happened. The way that was shot, what they presented was very brutal, and I'm gonna leave it there for now. I don't want to reveal too much yet. You
Okay.
know? It's a long podcast. I don't want to say was the episode bad because it was brutal, or was it amazing because it was brutal? Because there's a lot of different meanings that we can use to brutal.
Right
Yeah, brutal is an interesting word to pick.
Brutal.
I'm gonna take a page out of Christian's book and make up a word, and I'm gonna go with fan-fucking-tastic.
Wow.
Wow, you told me not to make up any words ever
Fan
again.
fucking tastic,
Wow.
I think, can be a word, and I think it sums up this episode perfectly because
Okay.
there were definitely slow parts, but there were definitely parts where I was on the edge of my seat, and I was very, very happy with the amount of carnage and emotion that I felt.
Yeah. I'm shocked right now.
I'm glad.
Very
that
happy.
I'm glad that you
Oh,
threw
wow.
that second caveat in there, which was the emotion, just so you didn't look like a bloodthirsty psychopath.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I have to
Because
make
there were
sure
definitely times watching the episode with you where I saw you over there like tapping your watch, like, all right, when's somebody gonna die?
we
Let's
need
hurry
some,
Checking
we need
up."
some
up.
bodies
Yeah.
at this point. Like, come
Well,
on,
there's a lot of bodies in this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, we got a lot.
A lot.
Bodies.
Harmon, how would you, in one word, sum up this episode?
So my initial thought was that my one word was going to be exhausting because it was emotionally exhausting. It was physically exhausting to watch. I mean, it was either the episode or the 3 beers I drank during the episode. But I felt
He's sober.
I'm fine. I felt it was like 2.5. I felt physically spent after watching it. However, that's not going to be my one word. My one word is obviously, because I think the biggest take coming out of this episode, people are already chirping about it on Twitter, and I think we saw it coming into this episode that this was going to be Dany's full-blown transformation into the Mad Queen, right? That she was going to officially lose her shit in this episode. And I think people are still surprised that her character has turned this heel, quote unquote. However, you could see this coming for a long time, man.
For seasons and
seasons and
Yeah.
seasons, not just from when she crossed to Westeros. But I think before. I mean, many times the showrunners pointed this out in the show after the show, whatever thing. What did they call that officially?
After Thrones.
No, it's just little like vignettes that they do.
It's where they get to fucking jerk each other
It's
off.
where
Yeah.
HBO hired
Jesus.
HBO hired a producer that it didn't know what to do with, and they're just like, here, interview the fucking writers.
Do you know what's weird about those things
every
too?
episode.
You know what's weird about those things too? Like those guys never look at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
more dramatic when you don't.
whoever produced it's like, look slightly off tilt, so we get a
More artistic
a
look.
right justification, and then we're going to slightly down shadow the right side of your face to get like a really dramatic look to it.
It's so
That's-
weird.
That's
But
exactly what it is.
anyways, they pointed out that look, you could see this early on, even when we saw her brother get axed way early in the show, that she was just like, yeah. He wasn't a real dragon. Like, who cares? Her brother was trash, but still, it was a cold moment. Also, people have been pointing this out. I don't know if I'm supposed to already start diving into this or
Not
what.
yet, but we'll let you rant.
Thank you, appreciate it. People have been pointing out the scene where she has this vision. I think in season 2, where people thought it was snow in the throne's room. It's not snow. It's obviously ash at this point. So
That was season 2, correct?
season 2, yeah.
Season 2,
So.
yeah.
I think we've seen this transformation coming for her for a long time. I've never really bought into the Daenerys experience. Other people have, people that I are good friends with that loved the character seasons ago. But I don't know how you didn't see this coming. Basically,
It's true.
is my point.
That's true.
I think that's maybe part of the point, though, right? In terms of this was a point of view character who was portrayed mostly as a hero throughout, someone that you're supposed to root for throughout the series run, and now you've had this shocking moment where, oh, she's not the hero we thought. It's like seeing Batman kill. It's like seeing Superman go crazy. It's like the not to that degree, obviously, but this is a character that you've just figured
She's
the
the good person.
She's the
or
one
whatever.
that's supposed
Yeah.
to break the wheel, right? She's not supposed to do all
this,
this.
yeah.
So I think it's not necessarily shocking to people, but it is brutal.
Yeah, no, your word is very fitting for this episode. But I was thinking about this earlier today, in preparation for what we all knew, I think, tonight was going to be this monstrous moment for her. This is real. Like, your point about Batman or Superman, turning bad and starting to kill, yeah, that would never happen. But
Sure.
That's, I think, what makes this story and this show more compelling, is that these characters do some of them are painfully obvious, like Jon telling his goddamn sisters that he, about his destiny,
Right.
super predictable. But I think what makes Daenerys an interesting character, despite the fact that I don't buy into her character like in a way that I want to support her or whatever. This is what happens to people over the course of like 8+ years or however long this show has gone on. People evolve, people change, and especially what changes people is power. And having that power be this close, like when you think anybody that thinks they have a destiny, a destiny to rule over other people, you've got some fucking shit going on up here. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's what makes the story, even though it's kind of a sad turn for her character, this person that, like you said, we were theoretically supposed to root for. I think what makes it interesting is that, yeah, it's compelling to see this character based on the circumstances that have happened to her since she's crossed the sea. I think has made this turn. I think it makes her more compelling.
It reminds me of that line Thanos has in Endgame where he's like,
I haven't seen it.
Spoil it for
You
him.
can. I don't care. Look, I'm past the point.
Okay.
The directors legally, the
Yeah.
director said you can spoil it for me. I can't send you to jail.
Yeah, this line won't ruin it, but he says, "I am inevitable."
Yes.
And I think that line is so applicable to everything you just said about Daenerys. You're absolutely right.
But here's the thing: I don't think it's just to Daenerys though. It's like to anybody in a position where they can potentially get power, right? It will drive them mad.
Yeah.
Is Jon supposed to be the foil to that?
I think Jon's supposed to be something different.
He's set up to be the foil.
He's supposed to be this new thing that has come out of two warring families with two completely different ideologies, and he's supposed to bring balance to the Force. They're basically copying Star Wars.
It's all Star Wars.
I don't like that.
It's all Star Wars related. Oh, like my T-shirt here, which you can't see on a podcast. Anyway, I'm wearing a Star Wars T-shirt, so yay me.
But there is a live stream.
There is a live stream
Are
that
people-
we
are
do
people
this.
watching?
We've got a couple of folks watching right now. Moving right along into what we call the section that I like to call "What Happened." It's a very unique name. But our great young producer here, Arjuna, kind of wrote these things out. And Arjuna, I want to start with this one, right? Because I think this was kind of one of the more interesting story arcs and gross story arcs of this entire series, besides Jon and his aunt, which would be Jaime and Cersei. And you wrote, Arjuna, you wrote on the "What Happened" section, you wrote, Jaime and Cersei are reverse born.
Yeah, they died.
Yes, they die. I get that they die, but
They go
what
out like they
made
came
you
in.
think to write reverse born?
Well, when we were watching the episode, someone mentioned that they were together just like when they were born. And so, they were like cuddling each other. Like, they're probably really tight in the womb together. And so they're
I think that's how it works.
And in bed.
From what I've heard, it's a tight space.
They're
It's a small space.
They've been put back into the canal of birth.
Or the canal of
Creativity.
Nothingness.
the canal of creativity.
Yeah. There we go.
That's why. So I had a couple of issues with that whole sequence, like I usually do with everything in life.
Sure.
Tell us.
I felt like it was kind of a cop-out for both their characters to a degree. I get that they're together and they end together or whatever, but we all remember when Joffrey died, one of the worst human beings portrayed on television ever, and he gets poisoned, and it was just very satisfying. Like, I remember jumping up and screaming at the TV and be like, fuck yeah, a 12-year-old just died. What's wrong with me? But in this scenario, it didn't feel as exciting. It didn't feel like one of those moments where I wanted to jump up and be like, fuck yeah. Like, I was just more kind of, oh, great.
Well, I think
everyone's dying now.
I think, I think to have every major character be killed by another major character wouldn't ring true necessarily either. And
so we're giving up to the rocks.
Well, here's the thing, right? There is all this destruction going around in King's Landing. That if Cersei somehow avoided all of it, right, and made it out and made it to a character like Arya, or directly to Daenerys to burn her or whatever, right, or to Jon Snow, I don't know if it would have necessarily rung true. I think what maybe some people are disappointed about is in the books she's given the prophecy that she will die at the hand of her little brother. So a lot of people, so Cersei included, believes.
So if you think that dead, she died in the hands of her little brother.
No, for sure.
Right?
Wait, isn't her little brother Tyrion?
Well,
Jamie
and
is technically also her little brother because
he was born, 20 minutes after.
before.
And that idiot led her to a dead end.
It's true.
Oh, that's interesting.
We do have a couple of people actually commenting. RMThaw64 saying, "Nah, refuse to believe those two are dead yet."
That's just denial.
Nah, yeah.
That's like
They're
saying
dead.
the Hound is still alive.
I mean, hey, the Mountain could get up and walk out of that shit. I wouldn't be surprised.
Exactly. I generally agree. Unless you actually see someone die on screen and it's like 100% clear, they can always come back. To me, my answer to that though would be, what would be the point? Like,
Yeah.
One episode left.
They kind of serve that purpose. That would be my.
What's the payoff?
Yeah. Unless there is a weird workaround, but I don't know what that would be.
I think people will be dissatisfied with the way that Cersei went out because she was so hated that I think people really wanted her to go in a very vicious
Brutal way.
In a very brutal.
There you go. Brutal
Right.
way.
Oh yeah.
Props to the
And
word.
it wasn't that brutal.
No.
I'll be honest. I think that divorcing Cersei out of this for a second and just focusing on Jaime, who I still find to be one of the most compelling characters of the show, and especially what's happened with him. The only problem that I have with the way his arc has developed over this season is the problem with the entire show right now is just everything is so fucking fast. Like
Yes.
the pace is so quick. It's crazy that he goes from knighting Brienne to fighting with the humans to fucking Brienne
yeah.
to then bailing on Brienne and going back to his sister to die with his sister in the course of like
2 episodes. Two and a half episodes.
2.5
Three.
episodes.
Yeah,
basically.
3 episodes.
That's crazy. However, if you take it back and think about just the story as a whole, I do think it's a really good story for Jaime's arc because it shows he dies in exactly the way that he wants to die. He said this to Bronn earlier, in the show, that he wanted to die in the arms of the woman that he loved, and unfortunately, he loves his awful sister.
Gross.
And it's gross, but also it just goes to show, like, we were talking about this before we even watched this episode, like, this is what he thinks he deserves. He doesn't think that he deserves a good woman like Brienne, this long, happy life in the north or whatever, or wherever they may go after this war is all over. He believes himself to be trash, and he must therefore go and die with his trash sister. And who among us, fellas, people out there, who among us has not fallen victim to a bad woman, a bad man, whatever you're into,
A bad man.
A bad cat.
who among us? I mean,
And I think just to go off of that point, the characters that we find not just in this show but anything, the most compelling are the ones that at the end of the day stick to who they are. Jaime is self-aware enough to know he knows what he is and he's going to stick to that. I think the reason we like Jon Snow, same thing. He knows who he is and he's going to stick to that. And Ned Stark, right? Ned stuck to who he was and what he knows, and it got him killed. And I think that's what.
And it got Jaime killed too.
And it got Jaime killed. Exactly.
And that's the question with Jon. I mean, is Jon gonna end up getting the
Well,
boot
that's the thing.
because-
The thing that's interesting, though, with Jon, though, is at the start of this episode, he said, "You're my queen. I love you technically as a queen. I'll stand by you no matter what." And then we see in the episode the big change, the big moment where he's like, "Shit,
Yeah.
this bitch is crazy."
I think everyone literally either inside of their brain or externally went like shit.
Shit.
Yeah,
as soon
as
as
soon
Grey
as
Worm,
she-
as soon as Grey Worm threw that spear, and it's even before that, right?
when
Before
she
as
flew
soon as
off in
he
the dragon.
and he
Yeah.
was like, "God damn it, that's putting your money on the losing horse, literally."
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I wonder how Jon responds to this. I also think Arya being on the ground for all of this, it really puts into perspective, like, oh yeah, she was in it. She was with people, like literally women and children getting roasted.
Right.
And I think that's going to be important for her realizing, like, yeah, this girl's got to go.
Right. When speaking of characters and like character arcs and who they are, Arya has been a character who has her list, who has wanted to go after the people that she feels deserves it. And, she had the fitting end scene with the Hound, and he said, don't live like me, don't live on revenge.
Yeah.
But I feel like with what Arya went through, it's not necessarily revenge, it's justice that she's going to want with Daenerys. And so instead of just going after people who maybe wronged her personally, this is the greatest wrong that Daenerys has done. And so I feel like Arya now just has one name on her list.
Whoa. We're not getting to bold predictions just yet. Stick around. Towards the end, we'll do our bold predictions. I'm not letting him say anything further.
But I actually think that's a really good point because
Hey,
I'm not going to spin it forward. I'm just saying.
He's not talking about that.
I'm just saying
future.
the difference between justice and revenge here is interesting because you could, Joffrey, Cersei, all these trash cans that she wanted to put on her list beforehand. Yeah, the Hound and the scene with the Hound and Arya was a great one. I love that one because they've had a great relationship. I like the way that's developed. I like the way that the dialogue in last week's episode was bad all the way around.
Last week's episode was just bad.
It was
so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I think it was my least favorite of the season. It was the only one where I felt coming out of it like, damn, I don't know about that. This week's episode, though, I feel a little bit better about, although I still feel like I'm processing all of it. But there is definitely a difference between revenge and justice. And I think if Arya decides to put Daenerys on her list, this for the first time won't be about some personal revenge, like you killed my dad, or you took my sister captive, or you took me captive, whatever. This will be about, hey, you're a bad person.
Really bad person,
and you should probably not be ruling the Seven Kingdoms. Just to take.
So to back up a little bit, somebody had brought up about how the pacing of the episode was kind of all over the place. I do want to bring up that on Reddit specifically, there's been a couple of posts showing.
You're already on Reddit, bro?
Dude, I'm on Reddit all the time.
Do you just blew it?
You just mainline Reddit?
Yeah, all the time. I'm sponsored by them. Just kidding, not. They should, though, but they don't. Anyway, so on Reddit, there's been a couple of posts showing up in the Game of Thrones subreddits. Specifically, the posts are protecting and backing up HBO as a company because a lot of people are out there saying that we only got 6 episodes because HBO refused to give money to go for 10 episodes. In actuality, what's happened was the showrunners felt that they could wrap up this entire series in 6 episodes.
Which is looking like a mistake.
Big mistake. Like a massive mistake.
I'm surprised you would say that. Because
because I hate character development.
Well, and you've already said that there are so many. So this is interesting because I think one of the main complaints about this season so far is that we've had whole episodes between 60 and 90 minutes that felt like they could be combined with other episodes.
Right.
There's been a lot of dead air, a lot of dead space. It's been moving a little bit too slow. A lot of people deliver their lines perhaps a bit more efficiently. Yeah. And I know you agree with that. I know you actually think.
But this
been extraneous
So this
stuff.
brings me back to my other point, right? Which was with these 6 episodes, it's kind of been episodes 1 was just we're back in the world. 2 was like prepping for the big battle. 3 was the big war. 4 was another prep, and then 5 was a big one, right? My thing would be, if we took a little bit more time, we could have had more time with the one character that I care about.
No.
He did it. Yes,
Pass.
I did. I did it.
No.
I did it perfectly. The Night King. Okay. We had like more episodes with the Night King, and people have said this. Even people, that we both know, Harmon, have said this, where it's That's
not a good sign for good takes.
I know, right? What was the whole point of the Night King? We missed out a lot of his story, and it wasn't done in a way that he's been like this pivotal big fucking disaster, this monster coming, and then he just gets stabbed and it's done. We didn't get. Still don't think we got what we needed for closure with him.
Yeah.
Similar to like Cersei and Jaime, like these pivotal deaths, they could have been done better, more dramatic, given us more information, just kind of closed it properly. The Hound and his brother, I think that was a decent death. That makes sense. That's a nice close off to that entire arc.
It was really scenic.
Very scenic, and they said it in the After Thrones, whatever the hell that vignette.
The Thrones vignette.
The Thrones vignette. They they wanted to be very apocalyptic and very kind of dramatic, and this kind of moves me into the next section I want to talk more about.
Can we one more point on this though? I agree with you that
the Night King. Seriously?
No, I pointed to Krishna for the listening audience. I pointed to Krishna. I agree with Krishna here that It's not that they've wasted a lot of time on dialogue. It's that they've been weird with their choices on what to
show and what to show and
what to not show. Yeah, and going back to last week's episode, for example, they spend so much time at this party right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, there's so many slow motion shots of the fucking cheersing the glasses and like all these weird dialogues that I don't really need. And then when we get to points like, sure, let's for just to humor Ravi, like let's talk about the Night King a little bit more. Let's have Bran explain some things. Nothing on that. Jon drops the biggest bomb of what the whole series has been building up to.
A Song of Fire and Ice.
He drops that on his sisters. We don't see it at all.
Yeah.
One of his
Off
sisters
screen.
drops it on Tyrion. We don't see that at all. Like,
Yeah.
we should have had a moment of having these two Stark sisters find out this massive revelation about the guy they view as their brother. I mean, two seconds beforehand, Arya is saying to Jon, "You're my brother. You know, you're not a half brother or anything like that." And we just get nothing out of that. We don't know how they react. We get nothing. Like
garbage.
that's
Right. Here it is for perspective. A few seasons ago, we had, I think, was it a season and a half worth of the church going mad in King's Landing, right? And we had that whole arc.
Which was great.
Which is a great arc, but that was over 2 seasons, right? We have, in a matter of episodes, the Night King dies and Cersei dies. It feels like the war with the White Walker should have been like its own season, and that the battle with Cersei for the Iron Throne should have been another season.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they should be two
separate
episodes
things.
apart. Just because these are the biggest moments in the show, and like everyone here has said, we're glazing over some details and then weirdly going over others. Like again in last week's episode, they do the weird drinking game with Brienne where Tyrion's like, "You're a virgin," and then they double explain that again when Jaime comes to her room and she's like, "I'm a virgin."
yeah. It's
Like,
we
it's-
got it.
We get it. Move on.
And it's like the storytelling and the writing has gone lazy. Like the big controversy of last week's episode was the Starbucks cup, which was in that episode, and no one caught it, and it was just there, and it has caused people to talk about, are we just trying to get to the finish line here?
Yeah,
And
that's what it feels like.
And it's just kind of like whatever it is, it is, and then that's it, because it hasn't felt as tight and as cohesive as previous seasons of Game of Thrones.
Well, and it's just, I think at this point, look, this show has jumped the shark, like not from a content perspective, but like from a cultural relevancy perspective. I mean, guys, we're sitting here doing a goddamn like live stream podcast, whatever, for that Tacos Media Empire. By the way, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning and do this again.
Yes, you are.
For our actual-
Do you
for
want
our
to plug? Yeah,
actual
go ahead
work.
and plug it right now. Actually,
I'll get to that after my rant.
how many rants do you get per Game of
Did you
Thrones?
not realize what you were bringing?
I
on
know.
here?
I'm kind of regretting this.
No,
created the
let me
Night
let me
You
tell
created
you.
Daenerys.
Let
did.
me tell you what. No, you knew exactly what you're bringing on, and you're not regretting it, because I am bringing so much fucking fire and personality to this live stream, and
It's true.
I dare you to deny it. Anyways, I don't remember what I was going to say. No, I remember what I was going to say.
Great. He's bringing a lot of fire. It's called memory loss.
The problem is that there's just no more like benefit of the doubt to this show. Like everything is so hyper scrutinized at this point that, like I said, we're sitting here talking about it, that like little mistakes or whatever that we would let go with any other show, we're not letting go with this show, which you can argue is good or bad or whatever, but it is what it is.
It's true. It's very true.
All right, rundown Ravi, you can move us along now. Watch
So-
Bet the Realm tomorrow.
Yeah, watch Bet the Realm, Matt Harmon, John Nichols, Yahoo Sports, 10 a.m. Pacific time at Yahoo Sports on Twitter.
Is this podcast just an ad?
Everything that we do is basically an ad. That's how the world works, Arjuna.
I will be
Social media.
much more reserved on that show tomorrow. Well, I might not. I won't be more reserved, but I will be more sober.
That's a shame.
I'll be
Debatable.
more- well,
Yeah, right?
I'll be more sober probably, and I won't curse as much.
Debatable.
Hey, I've never said fuck on that show.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So
You have one more week.
moving on. So the biggest thing of this show and the biggest thing of this episode, more so, is the action sequence. We finally got a battle that I think is in the top 3 battles of Game of Thrones history.
And that we could see.
And we can actually see it. Holy shit.
Well,
it was
there
amazing.
2 kinds of fire. 2 colors of fire. I hope that we could see it.
yeah.
Two
And
guns
it
of
was
fire.
in daylight.
But I think one of the most interesting things about the sequence, and the showrunners talked about this in the vignette series afterwards, was being able to be on the ground with the people of the city as this chaos from above rains down and just says, fuck you. We've got basically these amazing very like to me very similar to great movies like Saving Private Ryan. Black Hawk Down in terms of like those action sequences where just shit is completely chaotic, the camera's going all over the place. We got really cool long takes of Arya running, shit's just going completely haywire in the back. To me, that's some of the best cinematography that they've done so far in this show.
Definitely the most
brutal,
gripping.
Gripping.
It was
Brutal.
exhausting, man.
It was exhausting.
I mean,
it was very exhausting. And what was great too was we've got this. Obviously, it's a CGI dragon. Those sequences I was okay with.
Wait, it what?
It was Arjuna dragons don't exist. I don't know if Mom and Dad told you this. Also, Santa's not real. We have this dragon flying over above.
Spoiler alert to all.
Children watch this podcast
I
and
hope
listen to it.
I hope to
really
God
hope
not.
not.
Seriously.
I hope
You guys
we
are
get
really reaching a younger demographic.
I hope we get a comment like,
Gotta
"You
hit those
ruined
Gen
Santa
Zs."
for me."
Jeez, baby.
Oh God.
But yeah, the action sequences were some of the best.
Yeah.
You know, a thing with this season that was interesting was there was a lot of hype and a lot of build up for the episode 3 battle sequence, and you know that fell flat on its face.
You think?
Yes, it did.
I don't.
It was the most
This is divided.
boring ass fight ever.
It's very divided because a lot of people did like it and a lot of people didn't.
So
And
let me
for that one,
let me make
it's-
it more simple. Like
very simple,
Arjuna,
you know.
for you right now, season 8, episode 3 battle versus episode 5 battle. Which one was visually better and emotionally better?
Episode 5 all day.
There
And
we go.
I will say
There we
that.
go.
I will say that just because
He's intelligent.
I think the cinematography in this episode is some of the best they've ever done on the show, and that's saying something because there have been some epically, shot and epic moments within this show, right?
Yeah.
But I will never if there's one episode I ever go back and watch for season 8, this will probably be the episode, just because of how brutal it was. Just because of, like Ravi said, the emotions,
Nice
emotions
self-plug.
in it. I honestly, the shot they had on Daenerys' face, where the bell is ringing, and you see that
She's
look.
won. You know, I mean,
she's won. She doesn't.
won.
She doesn't have to do anything at this point. She's won, and that just look, and you just on this podcast, some of us here shit on Emilia Clarke's acting a lot of the time.
That's me. I'm the one that shits on her acting all the time.
Wow.
I'll admit it, and I will agree with you
Yes.
100%, and so forth, and whatever it takes.
And it's been a minute.
Yeah, we got.
But that subtle look she had on her face of just that madness, that power hunger, that big fuck you to basically Westeros, to everything. You could, if it was like an anime, you'd have like the epic, you would have the epic cut of like all of her friends dying, all the people telling her like she couldn't do this and that and everything. She's like, yeah. And
Actually, wait, we got that in the beginning.
Yeah.
We did.
In the
trailer.
recap.
Yes.
We have
Which
the
was
shot
really
of
well done.
Daenerys,
Yes.
and then they have everything that's ever negative been
sound
said
bites.
to her.
They
Sound
for,
bites.
they for, and when I saw that, I'm like, oh
Yeah,
shit,
yeah.
oh shit, and then you just see the dragon get up and fucking burn everyone.
Burn everything.
Everyone.
Also, you know what I thought to myself as I was watching this? Like, damn, y'all, can you imagine if she had 3 of those motherfuckers?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It would have been quicker. It would have been quicker.
I mean,
Game
but
over.
even so, it's like
so brutal.
the showrunners made this big deal about like, oh, we had to kind of even out her forces, or otherwise they would have just wiped the floor. Bitch, they got the floor wiped with them in King's Landing, yo.
Anyway,
Like
yeah.
that was a lot.
Yeah.
So
It was intense.
what was the point of killing all the other poor Rhaegal? You know, I mean, he could have run in there and run shot.
A lot of people. We should bring up. A lot of people thought Rhaegal was going to
come back
I was
because
one of those
I was
sheep.
one of those people
I was
too.
one of those
Wait,
sheep.
I was definitely like,
what is this?
So remember there was
What do you mean
another
coming back?
There was another witch or whatever, right?
Yes.
Running around in the city or running around in Westeros somewhere.
There were a couple of theories about how more dragons could get involved, and this was one of them.
Right, where one of the witches would revive the dragon.
When you say witches, you mean one of the red women?
Yes.
Or of
Red
the, of
witches.
the-
Yeah, I believe
the
red
god,
women is the politically correct term.
I think
Red
there's
women.
also a.
Is
there
it
was
really?
Sure.
No, I don't know.
there
Oh.
was also a. There was also.
Making
There's
shit
been a
up.
theory for the longest time that Bran was going to warg into one of the dragons.
There was also another theory
Which
that
it still could possibly happen, right?
could
episode
happen.
6.
There's also another theory that the dragons, almost like Jurassic Park style, can like change genders and like lay eggs or whatever, and like perhaps Drogon was gonna lay some eggs or whatever. I know people had that theory coming.
Heard
into this
about that
episode.
one, too.
And
That's a good one.
I actually thought the scene where Euron is looking up and like all this, like I
Yep.
thought coming into this episode that was going to be like Rhaegal was going to come back, like, oh my god, he's shocked. I shot that motherfucker out of the sky. But then as it was happening during the episode, I was like, this is where we're going to see like Drogon and several other dragons come down at once because
Oh, damn.
he's hatched these babies or whatever. But no, it just turned out to be,
Drogon.
OG. Drogon.
Drogon's a badass, by the way.
I mean, I loved
just
when
destroyed.
Qyburn, by the way, R.I.P. Qyburn. I mean, that motherfucker God.
Most unceremonious death of all.
But that was-
Which was great
crushed
because
That's
by
he
fitting
sucks.
for that's fitting for him as a
He
character.
had so much promise.
It doesn't matter. He's a creepy, disgusting,
he is.
gross thing, and
Yeah.
thank God that's
But
how
he-
he
Which
went.
was great
Listen to
too.
your
That
queen.
he comes up to Cersei and is like, all of it's like, Euron killed a dragon last episode. He can kill another. Actually, all the scorpions are they've been
Done.
destroyed.
All
The
15
Iron
of them.
Fleet still stands. Actually, about that, they're
He likes to lick his lips a lot, huh?
they're fucking dead. Yeah, he's an NPR radio
He's like,
host.
He's an NPR host?
He's like,
There we go.
my
Yep.
queen. They are gone.
So here's why I think, and this is maybe more of a criticism of how they're gonna end this series, because there's a lot of threads that they decided to cut off.
Yeah.
Like, to me, after the meeting, he took the arm of the zombie.
Yep.
And was supposed to study it. And to me, just unless that's coming back, which I don't think it is.
How they've burned the entire city to the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a waste.
Maybe
to me,
his
that's a
studies
waste.
failed.
And to be honest, and I don't know if we've got there yet. The whole strategy of Cersei was poor. Almost as bad as
I would say it
the
was worse.
of Winterfell, the Battle of Winterfell, or whatever you want to call that thing. It's worse than that. You're right, because she has had, I assume, months to plan.
At least.
Months to plan this defense, and they're not ready. And Daenerys only has one dragon. There should have been a far more equal battle.
Sure, I'm going to argue with you, though.
Sure.
And I think the big argument was her biggest, trump card, whatever you want to call it, was bringing the people directly into the Red Keep. She did not think truly. I don't believe she thought Daenerys would go that far and burn the city. And that was part of her thing, was to bring the people
That's terrible
in.
foresight. She's the daughter of the Mad King.
Right.
I'm just saying that's horrible strategy.
But when Cersei's not a warlord, she's not a strategist.
That's
or whatever.
true.
She hires strategists to come in.
That's true.
And tell her what to do.
Yeah.
And one of them,
Who does she have?
she had this creepy weird dude.
The mage guy.
Yeah,
The
and then
priest?
her
Qyburn.
brother ran off for a wee bit and then comes back.
And honestly, we don't get anything about the golden. What do you call them?
The Golden Company. They're just
Yeah.
hired mercenaries.
They're the ones at the
essentially.
front gate that get burned.
That just
Quickly, and then they run away.
Die very quickly.
And she says, "Our
men will-
swords will fight more than hired men ever will."
will. Yeah.
It was
Not
It was
exactly.
interesting to see the Unsullied brutally murder them.
The one shot that fucked with me this episode, not that it fucked with me, but I thought was really powerful, was when the Unsullied turned on the Lannister army, and you see the Lannister army trying to protect civilians. I was like, what a reversal.
Right,
Yeah.
The
but
Lannister
that's
army's been going out, for
Sure.
essentially 7 seasons.
murdering everything.
The beck and call of the Lannisters, who have been crazy.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, they're the ones trying to protect the citizens of King's Landing.
Yep.
They're the ones pulling back, and that's Jon Snow's going through, and it's like, wow, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
I thought that was really powerful.
Because think about Daenerys' army. It's made up of
Unsullied and
Dothraki,
Yeah.
Dothraki, who are
Brutal.
a brutal
Drake,
race,
brutal.
and the Unsullied,
There it is.
who will do whatever they're told to do.
Yeah.
And then you even have Northmen who have been through so much, and you have to.
And they fucking hate the Lannisters.
Yeah, and you
Hate
see,
them with a passion
and
at
you
this
see,
point.
And you see John having to pull people off of just there's one part where he kills. It looks like it's a Northman. I
Yeah,
believe.
he kills one of
He
his own
kills
men
his own
essentially.
man
Yeah.
to protect a civilian, because that, like we talked about earlier, about that's who John is. Doesn't matter. Morally, that is wrong to him.
Yeah, it was wild to watch that sequence, and I think this all goes to the point of why Dany has become this character that she is she's not built up she's not expanded her base, to come back to a political term. I mean, she's
Wow.
her base of followers are the Dothraki.
Yeah.
And
And
the Unsullied.
there ain't many of them left at this point.
And they're
And-
not great people. as
And
we
they're
saw.
also a little scummy too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've also got the Unsullied, who are basically, although I'm sure Grey Worm obviously has bought into the person she is, but also Grey Worm
He lost somebody.
He's out for revenge.
Yeah.
He's out for revenge.
He's on full-on
He's
revenge
looking,
mode.
He's looking to die at this point. I mean, he's just like, fuck it.
Yeah,
And he's just cutting people down.
You know, I think that she's not expanded beyond this group of people, and that's why she said, like, look, if it's fear, then, you know, if I'm just going to make these people fear me. And yeah, it is ironic that she was supposed to be this breaker of chains, and, you know, she was supposed to break the wheel, all that sort of shit. But, like, to me, that story for her has been gone for a while. I don't see how you couldn't see this coming. I mean, like I said earlier, she has had these tyrannical leanings for a long time, and I think we're just now seeing them come to a head. And for people, I think a lot of the audience is like John at this point, who I guess now realizes like what he's dealing with. But I don't know, man. Varys was right.
Yeah.
Poor
was right.
Varys, like the unsung hero, really.
I liked Varys. I will say I think that was one of the most difficult deaths of the of the season so far.
Yeah, when I looked over at you, you were actually crying.
I was not crying.
You were crying.
There were
tons of tears.
Listen.
Like,
If
there's like
if
a flood of tears.
I can promise you that I have not cried during this entire show, but if the one person that was going to make me cry was the dickless gossip monger, I mean, that would say some pretty weird shit about me.
He
That
talks
would be
to his
actually-
birds. Okay?
I said what I said, and
Talk to
I stand.
Where's
by
my
stand.
bird? I want my bird.
His little bird.
The reason it
Little
was so
bird.
impactful, though, was that the relationship between him and Tyrion is like
Yeah.
honor among thieves. That's how I looked at it. Like, these two guys know the game.
Yeah.
They know what they're getting into. They know, like, even Littlefinger was a part of that, like, clique,
Yeah.
right? Like,
He was
we
just
are
the
the
worst
master
one.
of secrets. We conspire against each other,
Yeah.
right? We're not on the same side, really. But at the end of the day, that's Tyrion's, like, best friend, right?
Can we talk about Tyrion for a little bit? Like,
Sure.
We have to.
We are going
We have
to,
to.
and then we're gonna from there we're gonna move into Harmon's big hot take, and then we're gonna talk about last week's predictions, and then reveal
New
some
predictions.
new predictions
Oh, I have
for
to have
next
a hot
week.
take. I got to think
Oh,
about
If
that.
you don't have a hot take, then why are you even on this podcast?
I mean, what have we
He's
been
got time.
talking about?
He's got
what have
time.
we been talking about this whole time? These
The
fucking hot
fire.
takes.
The fire.
But anyway, Tyrion Lannister, the little guy that
He's like the little.
kind of fucked it all up.
What did you
actually.
What did you guys think about the scene between him and Jamie?
It felt forced, to be honest.
Really?
And I'll say this: one thing that they've done in this season is the goodbyes, and they've made it a lot. A lot of the times, it feels like they've made it very obvious when it's the last goodbye. This is the last time you're going to see these two characters on screen together, and I felt like that was a scene that. You know, like obviously, like we'll never see each other again. Even though, in theory, right, if it goes a certain way or whatever, like they could see each other in some way, shape, or form. But I don't know. It felt forced to me, and it reiterated a lot of the things we've already heard between these two characters: that they are brothers, that they are best friends. That Tyrion repeating that, "Oh, you were the only one that loved me. You were the one that stood up for me." Like we know this information, and it just I don't know it felt like a fan service to me. It didn't feel necessarily genuine between the two characters.
Yeah, but
themselves.
nothing about this season has felt super like. A lot of these like goodbye conversations have all felt like fan
Well, that's
service.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the final quote unquote goodbyes between some of the characters, or a lot of them really, have just been kind of. This is the last goodbye. Say goodbye.
Here's why I didn't mind it, because a lot of the impactful moments between Jaime and Tyrion come with one of them in chains, and I think that's like pretty. Like that's a pretty interesting. It's like a pretty interesting way to depict a relationship. Like
Yeah,
they love each other, and the way that their family is set up and the way that this world is set up is that there's no situation where they can both be winning. Only one of them can be winning, and the other one is always going to be losing, right? And they love each other. They're the best. They're best friends. But because of the way that this world is set up, there's literally no situation where they can both be on top. And I liked it a lot for that reason, because we've seen it before, but this time it's the final time, and it's the final goodbye, and it's the literal mirror reverse of when Tyrion's in chains, and Jaime comes to try and free him, and then he goes and kills their father, right? It feels like the perfect reciprocal of that.
Right.
And
this
this time he's freeing Jaime to go die with his sister. With their sister. Not, to me, it didn't need to be more than it was.
Well,
and I liked it a lot.
Well, was it though? Because he did ask Jaime to get the bells rung.
Sure.
I think that was the bigger thing.
And again, when Jaime freed Tyrion, he's like, go and escape. What did Tyrion do?
Murder.
He go and killed their father.
True.
He's like, hey, please go and save this whole catastrophe. Nope, just go and die instead. And that's like the tragedy of the Lannisters, and I thought it was depicted perfectly in that moment.
Their father was an idiot, clearly. A very stupid man.
Oh, it's not. It's like it's just the forces of the world.
Nope. Poor parenting.
It's like no one's gonna accept a dwarf.
Nope. This is all.
There's no family that accepts a dwarf, and he's had to deal with that.
Krishna,
right?
this is all poor parenting.
So to bring that back to our current timeline, if you guys were to say you three siblings, which one of you is which Lannister?
I don't answer this because that's
three.
weird. That's
well, take out. None of you have to fuck each other, but beyond that,
God.
What the hell? Who invited this
Just
monster?
You did. Yeah.
just character-wise, which one of you is which? And if you guys don't have answers, I'll answer for you.
Sure, you go for
I'd
it.
rather.
No,
I
no.
want to hear Harmon's take.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I can't because we can't. Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah,
you
there's
can
no
answer
way. Yeah.
unbiasedly.
Yeah.
Everyone,
I
everyone,
think-
everyone here would pick Jaime.
Clearly, I'm Cersei.
Oh well, okay.
I'm a beautiful princess.
I think if I was to
Oh no.
the character that I think is the most endearing of these three is Jaime.
That's
He's
interesting.
complicated, but he's also done about exactly what you would expect, but also I'm invested in that character. And for that reason, I think Krishna is the Jaime because I'm invested in Krishna. I think Krishna is he has always been exactly what I've expected, and that's a good thing, by the way, for Krishna. So there's some of these analogies are not going to be one-to-one comparisons.
Of course. I would hope not, actually.
I think that Arjuna is actually the Cersei.
Oh shit!
Because he's the most cunning and the most tactician of the three of you.
Oh, okay.
Tactician.
Interesting.
But it's
Interesting.
quiet.
Okay.
But it's quieter.
Thinking ahead.
Think about Cersei early on in this. Like she was not the the bad bitch that she is now. She was a different.
She was very quiet and drinking wine and scheming.
And you did not know what she was capable of.
Yeah.
And I don't think we know what Arjuna is capable of yet.
Arjuna's a murdering psychopath. Got
Not
it.
exactly. Remember, these are not one-to-one comparisons because Arjuna and Krishna are not going to fuck each other, at least tonight.
I really, God,
Oh, for the love of God!
and-
This is a family-friendly podcast.
And the
Not
last,
anymore.
And the last one, Tyrion is Ravi because, listen, when I first met Ravi, I was very impressed, just like I was very impressed with Tyrion's character early on.
Oh my God!
But it is faded with time. Let me tell you, it has not aged well.
Ooh.
I'll be honest with you guys. I built that entire joke just to make that one at the end.
That's amazing.
Well done.
That was good. Good for you, buddy.
Excellent
That was
pull.
good. And I
Excellent.
think that I'm gonna take that as your hot take.
No,
That is your hot take right there.
No, I have another hot take.
Oh my God! How many hot takes do
real
you
hot
have?
take.
He's
What are
got
you
a real
talking about?
hot
I'm a
take.
sports media professional. I'm fucking just bursting with hot takes.
all the
It's
time.
my job to have hot takes.
He used the word professional.
Wow. Ego much.
Sports. Well, what do you mean? I mean that is my job is to be a blustering sports takey
It's good.
person.
So let's jump back to last week, episode 4. We had some predictions at the end of our podcast. Christian specifically had a bunch, so I want to run through these real quick, and they are as follows: Cersei kills Jaime.
Nope.
Which she kind of did.
Nope, Jaime killed Cersei. Tyrion kills Cersei. Didn't happen. Well,
No. Actually, both of those are accurate.
They
but
could-
keep going.
they
could
could
work.
be interpretation.
If you're looking
Interpretation.
at
Yeah.
it terms, all right, yeah.
Mountain kills Arya and the Hound.
Yeah. Well,
Half of
one
that's
of those.
true.
One of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
In some way.
That's fair.
Grey Worm kills Mountain. That would have been interesting to see.
I thought
That would have been a kind of cool thing.
Yeah.
Daenerys kills Jon. Hasn't happened yet, or maybe won't happen.
Those are my predictions for the next 2 episodes. So yeah.
Well, the whole thing was over the next.
over the next two.
Yeah.
And then you have Brienne kills Daenerys. I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's looking unlikely. But you know what? Maybe not.
She's broken at this point.
Yeah, and what better way to
She's
take
like
out your brokenness than destroy
Murder?
this?
Wow.
Why
I
not?
mean, how's she gonna get there, man?
That's true.
She's-
Well, this is
stuck
Game
in
of
the
Thrones
north,
Speedland.
yeah.
That's
like,
true.
Speed trap.
She
so.
could already be hustling down there as we speak.
you know that Mario theme song, like you got
Yeah,
the flower power.
And then
Yeah.
finally you had Sansa ends up on the throne.
Yes, that's
Still-
still my
still
guess.
a big
That's still a
possibility.
strong possibility now.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Who the fuck is gonna end up on the throne?
Yeah.
Well, actually, fun thing. Is there a throne anymore now that the city's burning?
I mean, that was what I was saying before
Yeah.
the show started. That I don't think that this is gonna end with somebody on the goddamn throne.
I don't think there's a
Yeah.
throne anymore. I think it's gone.
You think it's like democracy?
I think
Yeah,
I think
they're
it's been
gonna
destroyed.
they're gonna set up an electoral college
Yeah, it's gonna be yeah.
or a parliament for our international listeners.
There we go.
Yes.
So I had Arya and the Hound kill Cersei. Obviously, that didn't happen. And then I had Dany versus Jon as the big conflict, which I think we're kind of
You're at an episode.
that's
ahead.
where we're at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's coming up next.
They had a conflict moment.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, where they
It's an
were
awkward
few
kiss.
now, yeah.
a
An awkward
super
kiss.
awkward, disgusting, gross kiss.
Where John come on, John, just
Fake it.
Just-
Fake it till you
just
make
fake it, bro.
Fake
Like-
it till you make it is what they say.
Like just
Fake it with your aunts.
Like literally,
Fake it with your auntie.
literally,
Gross.
the fate of the Seven Kingdoms rely on you being able to fake this kiss, and you
like,
couldn't do it.
Fake
You're
fake a
responsible.
kiss with your aunt, yes, but she is objectively attractive. So like, come on.
Yeah.
That really fell flat.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's just weird. It's just a weird thing to say.
Yeah, so weird. Like, why is anyone saying that?
What about the
Sorry,
line? What
I
about the
don't
line
know.
in the show where
I like this one.
when they're when John and her are talking and she says, you know, you and Sansa are just as much to blame of Varys' death,
Oh yeah.
and it's just like,
Well,
what?
she's right.
You're pushing your own actions on other people.
Yeah,
That's
you're
very
not
true.
taking, she's
That's
not
very
taking responsibility for
yeah.
her actions.
That's
It's Tyrant 101 shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what's going on here is that she has assumed this role of that what I do is the right thing. Like that is the correct answer to all problems. And if it's the wrong thing and somebody dies, it's because of the actions of other people.
yeah, that's true. That's how it works in this world too. Arjuna's predictions were Cersei dies in episode 5,
Correct.
Nailed it.
and then time jump in episode 6.
Still think that's what's gonna
I
happen.
think that's what's going to happen as well. To be honest,
I don't
We're
think
gonna
so.
see years ahead of time.
I think we're going to see maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead.
Because John and company are in no position to just immediately overthrow her. She
It's
is
impossible.
now the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. And what's interesting in the preview is they just showed scenes that seem to be
Army
just minutes.
shots.
Yeah, army shots, and literally just like minutes
Just
after
her walking out
of this battle.
yeah.
And you know, it would be weird if the bulk of the episode takes place right there and then, when we still have Sansa in the north and Brienne in the north, and it doesn't see and all those characters, and it doesn't seem like that's all necessarily wrapped up.
There's so much shit to wrap up
So,
in one episode.
How
What I
how
think-
long is episode 6? Do we know
I mean,
yet?
is it 3 fucking hours? It might as well be Avengers at this point.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Why don't we just skip it and go see Avengers?
Wow, that would be a bold move.
Well, the reason I say this because I think no matter what happens, and I'm just throwing my boldest prediction out right now. No matter what happens next week, I'm going to be fucking disappointed.
well, that's because you're a negative.
That's because
Nancy.
you're you. Yeah.
You're telling me that
But you said you liked this episode.
I haven't gone there yet.
You
already said
you're-
fan fucking
tastic.
tastic. That was your
Yeah, because of all the murder
yeah, and it's redeemed.
and emotion, murder and emotion, murder
Yeah,
and
right.
emotion.
We do have actually a funny, or not a funny, but a good prediction here from Riv34. Dany kills Tyrion for being a traitor. Jon kills Dany, and then leaves and goes up north while Bran sits on the throne with advisors. I kind of like that.
Ugh.
You know why?
That's gross.
Because what the fuck? Where's Bran? Where's Bran in all this?
Stoned out of his mind.
Who even
pretty much.
cares at this point anymore?
Who even cares?
Bran had so much potential from a character perspective, and I feel like
did.
it's just been.
Well, not even just a
Wasted?
character
Wasted.
perspective, just like his abilities, what he was doing, the
Yeah.
lore of Game of Thrones, and yet it fell flat in his
Well, I
face.
just found, I just,
live in the past now.
I just found it funny in last season when it's like, I am no longer Bran. I am brain dead Bran.
Because my voice changed because of puberty, so I'm going to talk
Pretty
less
much.
and look weird.
I
Harmon, let's jump to your hot take. What is it?
I don't know, man.
You came to this podcast. You're our guest, and you come with no
my hot take. My hot
He
take.
saw the episode with us right before this.
He's a writer. He should be figuring it out as he's doing it.
My hot take for this episode is that Qyburn had the funniest death of the whole series.
I agree.
That's
That's
That
a
is a hot
shitty
take.
hot take.
What do you mean that's a shitty hot
It's a
take?
good hot take. I mean, it's an interesting one. It's different.
I mean, it's the only one.
The funniest death.
The only one that I feel like we all actually LOL'd at.
We did. Everyone was just kind of like, yeah, what the hell?
Because he just went out like, I really thought he was another one that was going to get like a brutal death because
This was a brutal death.
Well, yeah, but I mean like something that like you were like, whoa, but it was just, he just got pushed like a little bitch because the mountain was like, yeah, I have an agenda
Super
here.
Saiyan.
All the other hot take too, I think we've looked at a lot of like redemption arcs throughout this whole series, I guess. Like really, well, this season especially. There was kind of a sort of Melisandre, redemption arc in the Battle of Winterfell episode. We've obviously focused on a lot of that with Jaime Lannister. But I think the biggest redemption arc of the whole series is the Hound. The Hound to me comes
Full circle.
Full circle.
Yep.
Because he starts as this a brutal character that you don't like early on, and if you're Ravi and you're just like you're into that sort of stuff,
which he is.
Exactly. But he's an unlikable character to start. He's like a ferocious kind of just bad dude that you don't like, and then we see him really kind of close the loop on his relationship with Arya, which is really cool. Like these two have come to have a very special bond, which isn't sexual like the Brienne Jaime bond. It's
almost like a father-daughter bond. That I mean, she was close with Ned. She was there when Ned died, and in a weird way, the Hound has taken that father mantle.
And it's also like Sansa and the Hound had a little bit of a bond, but it was not on an even playing field. Whereas the Hound like respects Arya and tells her basically, girl, you've got to go or you're going to die here. Like, look at what is going on around you.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you come with me, like, I'm going to die here. He knows that is it. And he gets to fulfill his destiny.
Plot.
So I think that from a closing the loop perspective and a redemption arc perspective, I think the Hound probably closes his loop better than anybody in the entire series.
It's a good hot take.
I like that a lot.
I think Shaggy Dog closes his loop the best.
Yeah, who?
Shaggy Dog?
Which one's Shaggy Dog?
Rickon Stark, the most unforgettable Stark.
The most forget. I mean, honestly, like the Snoop Dogg who. Like that was when Rickon gets released, and there's like who? Oh, right, yeah. There's another Stark brother that nobody cares about.
It's true. It's sad, but it's
still
true.
alive in the books.
Who cares?
Still alive in the book.
Fellow nerds, I think we're at that point.
Well,
really?
Don't we
We're
have
there.
to give our bold predictions for the next?
Well, I gave mine, and that's the only one that matters. But Christian, give us your bold prediction for next week.
for the finale.
For the finale of something that you've wasted 9 years of your life on.
Oh, Jesus.
Go ahead.
Christ.
Tell us how you think this magical adventure finally ends.
Let's just.
Wow, this is
Good.
good.
You know what? You might as well just like, who cares, right? Next week's the last episode. Ned Stark comes back.
Jesus,
I
okay.
don't even care. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's it.
Sean
Boom,
Bean
done.
makes a cameo
Yeah.
appearance.
Yeah.
There you go.
Boom. Done.
That's kind of amazing.
done.
Harmon, you can go last. Arjuna, what's your bold prediction?
So I had started this one earlier, but I think Arya puts Daenerys down as the last name on her list. But again, like we kind of talked about earlier, it's not for revenge; it's for justice.
I like that. It's a good one.
So does she kill her?
No, she just writes a name and then the show ends.
I think Arya is the one to kill Daenerys.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's fair.
Harmon,
No, you got to give yours.
I already gave mine.
What was yours?
My bold prediction is I will hate the finale.
Okay.
That's not a prediction.
I have two bold predictions. A personal one like Ravi gave, and then an actual one. My actual bold prediction, I don't think Daenerys dies next week.
God, I'm going to hate everything if that's the case.
I don't think she dies.
That would just be the worst because I've never really liked her character.
Don't like her character.
Ever.
Don't find her to be... Although, I do think the story of her transformation is compelling if you look at it from a 30,000-foot view. But whatever. Who cares? So I don't think she dies next episode. Now, my personal bold prediction, I'm on pins and needles about this finale. I definitely, honestly, after sitting here talking with you guys for what felt like 5 hours, I'm just kidding.
That's so hurtful.
It's 57 minutes.
I'm just kidding. I had a good time. And I think that I'm even more realizing like, wow, they have so much stuff to wrap up next week. There's no way it's going to be completely satisfying, and there's so many ways they can do it wrong, and I have no faith in these people at this point anymore.
Ooh, damn.
However, my bold prediction from a personal perspective is I definitely will not hate this finale more than I hated the finale of How I Met Your Mother, which I'm
Oh, God, yes.
which I'm
yes.
still emotionally
Yep.
reeling from.
Yep.
You fucking rats. I
know
have
what?
never been the same.
So
You do
I'm so
realize
glad
you've
you
doomed
hated
yourself. Because what if it is worse?
It can't be worse.
You fucked yourself.
No, it can't. It can't
can
be
be.
worse. It can't be worse, Krishna. Because have you ever had your heart broken before?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Everyone has.
I've never had my heart broken.
And here's the thing
Ever.
about breaking your hearts. It can always be worse. That is.
It can always be worse.
It can.
However, I am not.
I'm not saying it will be, but
Well, yeah, but there's no way. Oh God, yeah, right though, because it can always be
Yeah,
worse.
it
People
can,
say this
yeah.
from like a fantasy football
You're more-
perspective. They're always like, "Well, it can't get worse than this quarterback."
I'll
It's like, no, it can get worse.
It did.
I'll
There's a
say-
John Beck out there.
I'll say how too. This show has more ways to go worse than How I Met Your Mother did. How I Met Your Mother went worse the only way it did go worse, right? This show has a few different, avenues that they could go where it could be like, wow, that was the most unsatisfying end to 10 years of my life.
But
I've
that's
ever
the
had.
thing. But that's the thing, though. Like, it's a different type of story. One, and also two. Like, you're right. I think there was only one way that How I Met Your Mother could have totally tanked that series, and
They
did
did.
it.
Yeah.
To the point that, like, the fact that Game of Thrones has so many possible ways to end, not even just poorly, but just dissatisfying. Like, that's the thing about this. I think that the show will end. It's almost set itself up to the fact that, like, it will end dissatisfying just because of how many things they have to wrap up all at once.
Yeah.
But it won't be bad, right? Like, it won't be objectively the worst fucking possible way to end it, which is what they did with How I Met Your Mother, and I'm still not okay. I'm still not okay.
You have cursed us all. You've
you
cursed
watch-
us all to the worst finale ever.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
gonna
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I know. You're
I
right.
hope you're kidding. God damn it. I hope you're kidding.
Well, we'll see, man. I mean,
Oh,
we will see.
no. We'll all cry
God,
together.
what a terrible way to end that show.
Let's keep it within the Game of Thrones realm. I think it's that time, guys. We've kind of gone over being this fiery episode to death,
Brutal episode.
along with Cersei,
Brutal, yeah.
the Hound, the
What
Mountain.
a great word for the episode.
Yeah,
It was.
It came back
I
to
will
bite
say
us.
this. Good job.
Yeah,
I'm,
you
I,
did a
as
good
your
job.
brother, I'm proud of you.
As the
Thank
Cersei Lannister of the Ramgopal.
Yeah.
Thank you? Question mark?
Luckily,
She would be the
luckily,
one.
the Ramgopal is more intact than the Red Keep at this point.
As of
It's
now.
true.
Hey yo. So
Although
Krishna,
Avery's upstairs, maybe she's burning this place to the ground.
let's
as
go.
we
Actually,
speak.
that's a good point. Actually,
no.
Krishna, was Game of Thrones season 8, episode 5 good?
Thank God, yes, it was. It was. Yeah.
We'll go to Arjun. We'll do him last.
Okay, cool. Arjuna was Game
the
of
best
Thrones
for last.
season 8, episode 5 good.
Yes. Finally.
Nice.
Ravi. Was Game of Thrones season 8, episode 5, whatever it was called, good.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I'm
The first.
shocked.
Right.
I'm shocked.
That was
That was painful.
I was
this
like
the
right
first-
on the line.
Is
Right
this
on the
the
line.
first? Is this the first one you said is good all
This season, yeah.
For him, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's. I mean,
Harmon, as our guest, you can throw it in there. Was it good?
yeah, it was good.
Okay.
I also think that the only one that I thought was bad was last week's episode. I think you can pick nits in all the other ones, but I really liked the first 2 episodes, and I think the Battle of Winterfell, while you can certainly pick holes in that, I thought was a good episode. Last week's episode, was not
Was
good.
not
was
the
not,
best.
Was not good, but this was good. I mean, like I said to you guys, I literally felt emotionally and physically and spiritually exhausted after the
Yeah.
whole ordeal. And
It was-
look, that is. And I didn't even know how I felt right afterwards. Like, I was like, man, was that good or was it bad or am I just fucking tired?
No. I agree. I felt not the same level. I don't know if you've seen the movie Dunkirk. But Dunkirk
Yes.
was an exhausting movie.
It was an exhausting movie. And
Yeah.
it was like Dunkirk, but with characters
That you care
that
about.
I've cared
Yeah.
about for 10 years
For
or
10
more.
years,
Sure.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like,
That
I
is
mean,
a
how
lot.
I said a couple times, like, yo, Arya, girl, you gotta make it out of there. All right, like you.
Yeah,
got to
dude,
be-
They
heard
did.
that.
They did do a lot of like she's on the ground, and I think it was Avery. He's like, is she gonna like
Is she
just
gonna
keep
just keep-
falling?
yeah.
And, like,
Yeah,
is she
she
gonna
could
die
fall
or
right.
what?
Arya definitely needs to go in the concussion protocol immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt.
she-
And last question
that's
for
an incredible.
last question for everyone here: would you watch the episode again?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd watch that again in a heartbeat.
the only episode that I've never rewatched a Game of Thrones episode. The only time I've ever rewatched anything from Game of Thrones. So I don't know if this answers your question, but if I at some point I feel like I could watch the entire season, like the entire series again.
Sure.
The only time I've ever rewatched anything from Game of Thrones, and we almost got another eye-popping moment in this.
Oh
with the
God,
Hound.
yeah.
The only time I've ever rewatched anything is
a good
I was
episode.
out with my friend. This is the year after I graduated college, and we were out at this master's program post-grad party thing or whatever at a house or whatever, and drunk and high off my ass at this point.
There you
And
go.
we're heading back to my friend's place I was visiting in town, and he just goes, "Yo, when we get back, do you want to watch the Mountain and the Red Viper scene again?" I was like, "That's the only thing I want to watch," because that's like it happened the week before, and that's the only time I've ever rewatched anything from Game of Thrones. I've never rewatched an episode.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
weird,
is
right?
that is hardcore.
That's an interesting scene to rewatch.
Because it was
Yeah.
so
Brutal.
crazy. I mean, it was
Yeah.
brutal.
It was brutal.
Arjuna.
That is a brutal one.
Cersei Arjuna. It was brutal.
Cersei
Call me
Arjuna.
Sir Juna.
Sir
Juna.
Juna. It was brutal.
Arjuna.
So Junacy.
It's going to be great when you someday die in the arms of the man you love, which is your brother Christian.
Wow.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
Wow. That's
No,
it.
man.
So I'm gonna wrap it at that point.
Done.
Thank you, Matt Harmon, for being on the podcast.
Hey, Ravi.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, sir.
I have been trying to. I'm going to say this to you guys now. Now that I've been on 2 Bad Tacos Media Empire podcasts. I have been trying to slow pitch to Ravi the idea of a Harmon podcast under the Bad Tacos.
How many podcasts do you have?
Oh, not enough.
Too
you're currently
many.
a
He has
part of.
too
Theoretically, I have 2.
Two
right
podcasts.
now.
Too active.
Subscribe to the Yahoo Fantasy Football Podcast with me and Liz Loza. Subscribe to Rookie Orientation,
Yeah.
the first of which is coming
Earthquake.
I know.
Monday.
Slamming our table.
Slamming your table. And subscribe to a future podcast under the Bad Tacos Media Empire wing featuring me talking about
Something.
whatever.
All right.
I wanna
Whatever
talk
All right,
about.
all right,
want.
fine. Here we go. 10-second pitch. Give us your podcast idea.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Are you
He's not serious. I'm wrapping this.
No, are you serious?
No, he's not.
There's
We'll
no,
do it-
no, no, no.
we'll do it afterwards.
The pitch is: are you serious? Have you not seen what I brought to the table in this
Oh,
podcast?
are you serious?
Passion, energy.
It's perfect.
I could talk about this. I could talk about anything with this level of energy after 4 beers now.
Thank you for listening. We are Was It Good. You can find us on Twitter at Was It Good. You can find us on Instagram at Was It Good BTM. Yeah, that was an interesting episode, and tune in next week for the finale, and we kind of sit there and think if 9 years of our lives were wasted or not, because it's really the ultimate question. So.
And if people want me to have a podcast under Bad Tacos Media, at Was It Good and at Matt Harmon _BYB on Twitter, and tell us what you think it should be about. And if even one person says yes,
Success.
we're gonna do it.
That's fair.
Thank you for listening. All right, we're cut on the recording.
We're cutting the record.
Cool. If you're still jumping or you're still on Twitch or Twitter or whatever the fuck, we'll stick around for a minute or two.
Tell
answer
us
some
what
questions.
what my podcast should be about.
Do we have any?
What should Harmon's podcast be?
Do we
Your
have any?
podcast should be about. You literally take the 5 most trending tweets from the previous week, and you
Dissect
comment.
them.
Yeah. You dissect them the only way Matt Harmon can.
I feel like your podcast should be about food.
Someone added me
It's good.
and quote tweeted our podcast tweet and said, "Why are you all sitting in different corners of the same room podcasting? Do you know how cameras work? There's 4 different cameras, bro."
We're actually at one table
Yeah.
communicating together.
They don't understand how social clips work. That's sad.
That was great.
Sad.
That was great. Actually, real quick, Riv34, thank you so much for commenting as much as you did. He had or he or she had an interesting take. That person said that Daniel will kill Tyrion for being a traitor. Jon will kill Daenerys. Leaves goes up north while Bran sits on the throne. And then that person said the first trailer ever for Game of Thrones ended with a raven on the throne. And then said, and the first episode shows Bran and Jon on screen as Ned says, King of the Andals. That's a great memory, and that's fascinating, callback to previous episodes. Game of Thrones is that kind of show where you would think imagery from previous seasons is important, so that's really interesting. So shout out to Riv34.
That is.
Oh, and this person provided some photos. So there you go. Yeah. Game of Thrones.
Oh wow, they're just like hardcore. Jeez.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Bran.
Oh yeah, that's a
warg-
raven. That's a raven on the throne. That is.
So
boom.
Bran will warg into Jon.
Oh damn.
There you go.
That is. Does he have consent?
No.
Damn. Okay. That's a different thing then.
Wait, who's telling him King of the Andals and the first men?
Right
That's
here.
Ned?
There's a picture. That's Ned.
Yeah, I'm looking
King
at
of the Andals and
Ned
the
says
First Men.
that to them.
He's saying. So I think as he's about to cut off the head of the deserter
Yeah,
from the very first scene.
sure.
He's saying probably as King of the Andals and the First Men, or in the name of Robert Baratheon, King of the Andals and the First Men.
Sure.
And it shows for that one specific line.
Yeah, I'm looking
Bran
at the pictures.
and thing, and
Yeah.
then he cuts off the head.
Well, here's the thing, though. Is like the raven on the throne. That's just imagery. That doesn't mean anything. That's just them.
What do you mean that doesn't mean anything? Imagery of anything means something. Well, why would you put a raven there if it didn't mean anything?
They've
that
not.
make any
They've
sense.
not like followed anything that they've been doing.
That's also true.
Like they're just all over
That's
the
also
place,
true.
right? Like it could be literally like anything could happen.
I like it. I like it.
There's a great tweet that was retweeted by a friend of the show, Sean Sullivan, that I found.
Well,
humorous.
associate of the show.
You can't decide who's a friend of the show. or
Yeah,
not.
how does that?
You're
When
just
did
a
we?
guest.
When did we say you are dictating who the friends of the show are?
Well, after I take over, was it
Good
good?
sir, stay in your lane.
And once it becomes, was it good
Matt Harmon.
per Matt Harmon?
Per Matt Harmon.
Was Matt Harmon good?
Was it good featuring Matt Harmon?
Maybe that's your podcast. We bring on all of your exes, and they say,
Jesus
was Matt
Christ.
Harmon good?
No,
That sounds like a terrible idea.
no,
spin-off of
no,
Was It Good?
no. I rescind my offer to have a podcast under Bad Tacos Media. Fuck that.
You're welcome. You're welcome,
That
guys.
sounds like an episode of Boy
Actually,
Meets World.
I'll do that. If we can do that podcast,
What?
No.
I will produce the hell. I will work so hard to make it the best thing ever.
Well,
No.
so real quick.
That's
What
how
would
many
even?
of his
What
exes?
would we even?
Call it?
No,
easy.
I mean, what would be?
It's called BYOB.
No, it'd be called no. The podcast name would be called Mistakes.
Oh
No.
my god.
Bring
And then
your
basically,
own-
but no,
puzzles.
what would be
But
interesting?
who's the one making the mistake?
But
Me or
that's
them.
the thing though. Is like we can
That's the
dive
listener to
into
find
that's
out.
where.
We-
That's how we decide. Was
Yeah.
it good? Was the relationship
good based on. There you go. We're tying it all together.
Oh,
Synergy.
So the tweet
Synergy.
was. So this is the
Please
tweet.
change the subject.
The tweet is a Game of Thrones recap. So Game of Thrones recap. Everyone, ring the bells, we surrender. Bells, begin ringing. Lannister army, disarms. Daenerys Targaryen. Leroy Jenkins.
That's so good. That was from Sully.
Sully retweeted this.
That's
from
so
somebody.
good.
That's-
Leroy
that's great.
Jenkins.
This
Harmon-
is this
Harmon,
is the
do
best.
Leroy
Do you know what Leroy Jenkins
This is the best tweet from the episode.
Ferris watching the whole.
Oh, in the sky is it God or a ghost or whatever? Put it up to the camera.
Wait, I want to see.
Look at the stream and you'll
Wait,
see.
that's
it.
Varys?
Varys watching the whole
Oh,
battle,
going-
like,
I called this shit.
You shouldn't have
One
done
thing,
it.
one thing I did want to mention in the podcast that I didn't get to mention, just because I forgot. But when we were talking about Varys, I still think one of the most powerful scenes in the entire show is the chaos is a ladder scene between Varys and Littlefinger, and that was just such an interesting scene to me because it's like here are two characters who, when you first meet them, you really think nothing of them. They're just kind of fluff advisors, and they obviously got fleshed out throughout the entire show, and they became so big and so pivotal in the show up until that point that you had this scene, and I think everyone, when you watched it, were like, "Oh my god, this is like an incredible scene," and there's so much to it, and it's so powerful. And I feel like Game of Thrones, because it is finishing up, has really taken the focus away from those awesome supporting characters who aren't the leads, right? Who aren't the Jon Snows and the Daenerys and the Aryas of the world. And it feels like a lot of them really have fallen by the wayside. Like a character like Sam, right? Who had so much importance.
That's a great
just
point.
got thrown away last episode, right? In this kind of half-hearted goodbye. Or a character like Gendry got boiled down to, you're the Lord of Dragonstone, and now I'm going to propose to Arya, and she says no, and that's the last you see of Gendry. Or Brienne just being this character of being left at the altar, essentially, by Jaime, and that's the last we've seen of her character so far. So it does feel like all these side characters, these supporting characters, right, that had all these arcs, that had these arcs, really just got nipped. And like Varys had a really emotional ending, but I mean he's another character that's his ending. His story ultimately just became fodder for the big characters instead of it having its own complete arc necessarily.
I don't know. I think that his ended, as he was the entire series, which is, he's trying to pull strings behind the scenes, and this time it finally kind of catches up to him. Mm-hmm. Because also, I do think the interaction between him and Jon leading up to this moment was interesting, because normally when Varys has jumped ship from party to party, he's jumped to someone who wants the throne as well. So he's jumped to like a willing participant. Him trying to jump Daenerys' ship onto Jon's is problematic because Jon doesn't want the throne. He doesn't want it. And Varys is trying to undermine someone who doesn't want to be undermined by the person he wants to undermine her. Does that make sense? Because that's problematic with usually what goes on with him, and that is why here in the end, what he's always done catches up with him, because this is different this time.
Real quick, I think Trevor Lewis is watching right now. I'm just calling him out. Trevor, if you're watching, please comment and let us know, what did you think of this episode? Because he always has fun hot takes.
And also, what should the podcast be that I'm going to do under Bad Tacos Media after crushing this podcast?
And then let us know, Trevor, if you do like the idea of Harmon and all of his exes.
I love that idea. I really do like that idea. I think it's very unique.
Well, no.
It sounds like a disaster in a train wreck, which is why we need to do it.
No.
I mean, I like to live
here's
that way.
the thing. I don't know how well funded your operation is. I don't know if the Murdochs are funding Bad Tacos
let's just put it
Media
this way.
as well.
We could buy Apple and Disney tomorrow.
Okay. Because that's good. That is good to know. It's
Wait,
also,
we can?
You mean like a
it's
laptop or a
it's
ticket
also,
to Disney?
It's also really cool that you guys have. Yeah, you can buy an iPhone and one of those Mickey Mouse ears.
Exactly. That's what we can afford.
But it's good to know that you have that kind of funding, because here's what you'll have to do funding-wise in order to make this podcast happen. You'll have to pay for a lot of plane tickets for my exes to come out here.
Of course, yeah.
That's also hotel rooms, because they're not fucking staying with me. Let me tell you that.
You know there's this thing called Skype?
Oh, no, but that's not good content. You want them to be face-to-face with me.
Trevor did say Aaron Rodgers was in it, so it was good. And did you all pick up where Aaron Rodgers was?
I saw the
I
screen
missed
cap.
it.
I
Yeah,
saw
so
the
he
screen
was
cap.
in when the Lannister army was lining up against the wall. He was one of the archers in the middle. They did a rack focus
Cool.
I was really hoping he'd be one of the guys that gets burned.
I can't believe a bunch of sports weenies were like, oh, I wonder what pivotal role Aaron Rodgers will play in this episode. Who gives a fuck, man? Like, Chris Stapleton was in an episode.
Wait, you don't?
No, I don't give a shit. Like,
Aaron Rodgers is your job.
Yeah,
I wanna know what
but
his
I knew he was just going to be some pointless, like,
like an Ed Sheeran.
some joker in the background. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to be the one to kill Cersei or something. Of course he was going to play a pivotal role. He was just going to stand there.
That would have been next level, like a great troll job.
Yeah.
Not even trolling, but it would be like, so many people would have hated it, and then I feel like a small segment of people would have loved it.
Yeah.
Because of how
funny it would be.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
just
that
how
would be
stupid.
I mean, if you're an NFL fan, I think you'd get some LOLs out of it. But other than that, I think you'd be pretty
I think a lot of people would be like, I don't
I
get
think
it.
you'd be pretty pissed. Some rando just ices one of the major characters.
I mean,
Aaron
that's how it should
Chaos
be.
is a
isn't it,
ladder.
though? Like,
Chaos is a ladder.
Chaos is a ladder.
So they say. Is it though?
sure. Why
What are we
not?
guys, what are we going to do 2 weeks from now?
When we're done, I'm planning on
Take a
taking a
vacation.
break.
Yeah.
From Game of
a nice long
Thrones?
break.
No, just from you guys.
That's smart. I want to take a break from you and your Night King takes. That would be nice.
This podcast must go on.
Okay.
What are you guys going to decide is good or not?
Well, for those who are still listening to or watching this,
God
stream,
bless you.
We do have another podcast stream coming out on Wednesday for Pokemon: Detective Pikachu, a movie that came out last Friday. We had the pleasure of seeing it, and we will be reviewing and telling you.
Was it
if we
good?
thought it was good.
Spoiler
You're gonna have to
alerts.
tune in, Matt Harmon, on
I'm not
Wednesday.
going
Spoiler
to
alerts,
watch.
Ryan Reynolds was great.
I'm just
At
going to tell
least.
you right now. I haven't seen Detective Pikachu yet, so I'm definitely not going to watch it.
Well, let's see it before.
I'm not going to do that.
Wow.
That's fair.
Wow.
It's taken me 3 weeks to fucking, like, I was going to say 3 episodes of Game of Thrones because that's what weeks are now at this point. It's taken me 3 weeks to fucking see Endgame. I'm not going to see
Endgame,
Detective Pikachu.
Do you have a date to see Endgame yet?
No.
We're skipping out work on Tuesday. If Robbie, our boss, is watching this, we're going to be skipping Tuesday to go see Endgame.
God, if anybody that employs me is watching this and I still have a job, it's going to be stunning.
Yeah, I guess you're right, actually.
And Matt Harmon just became a full-time employee of What's It Good.
Wow,
You guys better have money enough to buy Facebook and Twitter along with
yeah. Don't
along
worry,
with
don't
fucking
worry.
Disney and Apple.
We draw a line.
Okay.
Yeah, we have standards.
Yeah, morally, we can't do it.
We only spend
Please.
$2 billion per company.
That's nice.
If it's not worth $2 billion, we don't buy it.
Yeah. That's why we're in a garage.
Don't give away our top secret location.
Sorry.
We're in a
All right,
bunker.
we're gonna
Sorry.
bounce off because my good friend Trevor's clearly not engaging with us.
And I have
so-
to pee.
Same here, actually. Thankfully, there are 4 bathrooms here. Thank God.
One of them belongs
in
to the
our
cat.
secret bunker.
I call
secret
dibs. I
bunker.
call dibs on the closest bunker bathroom
That's
That's
fine.
fair. That's
as
fair.
the guest
That's
and
fine.
future host of Bad Tacos Media Infowars or whatever.
whatever we come up
Yes.
with.
I like that.
Anyway, thank you for watching. We do this live whenever we decide to do a podcast. Obviously, like Arjun said, the next one will be Wednesday, and then following that will be Sunday for the last
the
episode.
finale of Game of Thrones.
If the planet's still here, there's like a meteor coming.
my
So,
God.
But
might
we
be done,
we
so.
are looking for other things to review in the coming weeks. So actually, if you have any suggestions of new content that's coming out, or even some oldies that we want to throw back to,
We actually got one from a good friend of the podcast, Jared Quay. He told us to check
Yeah.
out, I think, a thing on Netflix.
Associate of the
A documentary?
it's an HBO documentary.
Oh, HBO called Tickle.
Tickle.
so
and
weird.
this is weird as it sounds. So,
All right, kill it. Goodbye.
yeah,
PP
maybe.
has